Wow, an incredible amount of snow showing up on the European over the next couple of weeks. That's what it printed today. This right here is the current snow cover across most of North America. You can see where that's really been concentrated, but kind of a snow hole here, up here into parts of southern Saskatchewan, southern Manitoba, Winnipeg, for example. Not a lot of snow falling here, but boy, we've had it into parts of Michigan, into the UP, and into the Northeast. This is how much snow is on the ground right now. Quite a bit here across the Canadian Rockies. And there was even some snow here towards Flagstaff. But otherwise, we're finally starting to get some snow here into the Wasatch. I think there's much more on the way. And boy, the newest run of the European just glaciates this area here into Canada and into the northern U.S. where we've not seen as much snow. Let's talk about the snow totals in the short term. Then we're going to talk about the long term because we're going to be dealing with more of these clipper systems. And we're dealing with snow right now that's, I think, just setting the stage for more events. Winter weather advisories have been expanded by the National Weather Service since this morning here into Tennessee. It does not include Nashville. We're going to have some snow up here into the mountains, especially here into eastern Kentucky, into the higher elevations up on the Cumberland Plateau. And then once I think you get northeast of the Tri-Cities, those snow numbers will go up. And they'll also go up, I'd say, just south of Johnson City, down here to the higher elevations of western North Carolina. The tricky part to me is going to be right here from Greensboro to Winston-Salem along the I-40 corridor. I think your heaviest wintry precipitation will be north of that, but up into southwest Virginia, southern West Virginia, and I think you have to watch this part of West Virginia. There could be a heavier band. The NAM's trying to show that. I don't know. It's looking pretty interesting to see. We'll have to see if that comes to pass. But still, winter weather advisories out here as far north as Greenbrier County, also up into Fayette County into West Virginia, back into, I believe that's Boone County, and then into Virginia. Winter weather advisories extending all the way down into the 757 area code here. Down the peninsula now. Does include Williamsburg. Does include Newport News. It doesn't cross the bridge tunnel here and go down to Norfolk. So we're talking about north of the Hamptons Roads Bridge Tunnel here, up along 64 towards Richmond, all the way down to the North Carolina line. And again, we are looking at these winter weather advisories extending north of Raleigh. It does include Durham for some snow. We'll look at those totals in just a second, but this is new too. We've got these winter weather advisories now including Washington, D.C. and Baltimore. There's been a shift. We saw this earlier today, a little bit further to the north. So another update. This will be the final update before the snow hits. It looks like it's going to move a little bit further to the north. I think you're still going to get some snow up here towards Frederick, maybe even into Hagerstown and Winchester, but the heavier snow will be just to your south. And we're talking about a couple of inches here and then out into the Delmarva along the eastern shore here from Salisbury all the way down to the eastern shore of Virginia. I still think you get some snow up here into Dover, maybe not as much. Also southern New Jersey, just not enough to issue winter weather advisories. Here's a look at the big picture, and we'll dive into this area in just a second. This snow moving east through the overnight into southwest Virginia, southern West Virginia, central Virginia, and then once you get down into North Carolina, more of a mix. Across the west, we've got some snow building into the Rockies, into the Wasatch, and then some lighter snow across the northern plains as a front drops to the south, also into parts of Ontario. Let's push this out in time. Once we get into Friday evening, the wintry precip here into Virginia and North Carolina, it's done. It's moving offshore, and we're dealing with just, clearing skies, and then your front drops to the south with your showers along the Gulf Coast. But let me tell you something. Watch this area over the next couple of days. Big snow on the way, I think, into the Canadian Rockies, Banff, go all the way back into the coastal ranges of British Columbia. I think this snow over the next week is going to really pile up. And also into the Cascades. We're putting that moisture now into the Pacific Northwest, and that also means some heavy rain in the lower elevations. And I do believe some of that snow is going to pour east into parts of Idaho and Montana, so we'll keep the snow going. Our next clipper system starting to drop south on Saturday. It's going to bring a stripe of snow, I think, from North Dakota, South Dakota, into Iowa, southern Minnesota, into parts of Illinois, Wisconsin. It looks like it's going to go right towards Chicago, maybe just a little bit south with the heaviest band of snow. This would be this weekend, right? Not what we're dealing with tonight. More snow on the way. And then this kind of weakens as it heads towards the coast. You've got some energy back here across Texas, also Oklahoma, a little pocket of some cold air as Arctic high pressure wedges down. And I was wondering if there would be some kind of interaction here. The Europeans trying to show that. And then we're just pounding snow here again into British Columbia. The moisture fetch is just incredible right now. So we're going to see quite a bit of snow. And I imagine places like Whistler, you get up into the mountains, Lake Louise, those ski areas are going to be looking beautiful over the next couple of weeks with more heavy snow on the way. Another system moving east, bringing some snow into the Great Lakes. That trough I showed you back across Texas, the newest run of the Europeans pretty progressive with it, but notice it's trying to do something, right? There's your trough. You can kind of see that shortwave energy, and look how it's trying to put a little bit of wintry precipitation into Kentucky, maybe southwest Virginia, into the mountains of southern West Virginia, and it's look at it trying to trick you here into North Carolina with a little bit of snow. I don't believe it whatsoever. That was the late afternoon run this evening. The midday run didn't really show this, so more to come. And then this system looks like it could bring our next significant snow to parts of the Great Lakes region, and then look across the west. Good grief, it just keeps snowing across western Canada into Alberta. And this one's going to spread east into Saskatchewan. Look how warm it's getting out ahead of this. Enough warm air moving north for a little bit of rain mixing in here along the U.S.-Montana border here, the Canadian border. Interesting to see that as our upper pattern sets up like this, and you'd get these clipper systems that just keep diving in from the northwest. I'm telling you guys, tons of snow showing up on the models. I don't know the last time I've seen it quite this active. And listen, guys, I'm going back to, I'm just going to tell you, this kind of reminds me a little bit of 08, 09, 2010, and that range with these northwest flow events. And then some of them start to move more west to east and really amplify. This is the GFS, very similar with that clipper system. I wanted to show you that as we head into the weekend. Let's dial in the snow in the short term. If you're just joining the live stream, you can take it back from the beginning. We've already talked about the winter weather advisories, but this is already underway, right? We're going to have the snow going through the overnight. Look how far north the new NAM is. Pretty far north. We're almost up to Elkins, West Virginia with the snow, up to Charleston at this point. Very interesting to see that. Let's zoom in a little bit closer here. You can see that here's Charleston, up here's Point Pleasant, the edge of the snow band almost up to, good grief, yeah, snowing in Elkins here. And now it's got some decent snow trying to pick up along the Virginia-North Carolina line. Late tonight, we're talking about 4, 5, 6 a.m. And look how this surge of warm air is moving up into Tennessee, transitioning any snow, I think, here for like the Tri-Cities, maybe even into very far southwest Virginia to a little bit of rain. But get northeast of that, up towards Beckley, Bluefield, down to Wytheville. I think it's all snow here to Roanoke, Blacksburg, Lynchburg. We're in Virginia now. We're in the Commonwealth talking about the snow, and then that moves east. Down to North Carolina, I talked about that I-40 line. That's going to be the area to watch for a transition from Greensboro to Winston-Salem to the haves and the have-nots. I think you're going to have to get up right along the Virginia border to see some decent, significant snow, but still, we've got those winter weather advisories. And then further to the east, as the snow moves into Virginia, we're going to start to see that snow pick up overnight. Time above me's eastern, so 3, 4, 5 a.m., we start to see the snow moving into the suburbs of D.C., back towards Fredericksburg, down to Richmond, down to Newport News. The snow going, look at this, into Williamsburg as we get into the early morning hours of Friday. Snow on the way. It's not going to snow a lot up towards Dover, but there is going to be a few flakes flying for sure. And even here into New Jersey, down all the way down to the very southern part of the state, some snow on the way. This starts to settle down, maybe a few flurries lingering, and it may put a few flurries and snow showers into PA, but we're not talking about a heavy snow event here. This is the new NAM. Very impressive looking, trying to put down close to more than 6 inches up here into parts of southern West Virginia into southwest Virginia. I think the NAM typically overdoes things. It just does. This would be the midday run, so this newest run, I think it looks a little wonky. If you look at the actual digital forecast database, these are touch numbers from the National Weather Service, putting a trace of snow up towards Charleston, a little bit up toward Elkins. But once you get up into the mountains, you head south, 3 inches for Beckley, close to 4 for Bluefield. Once you get to Roanoke, about 4 inches. I don't know. That's actually Blacksburg. Roanoke looking more like 3.5. So you can see a good 2 to 4 inch snow across this region. Anywhere over blue is showing more than 2 inches, touch numbers from the National Weather Service. And then back on the Cumberland Plateau, we're talking about just a trace of snow, maybe an inch or so once it's all said and done. Let's go further to the east, where I think this right here is where a lot of folks are watching tonight very closely. Once you get up into D.C., get up along I-95, how much snow are we really looking at? This is the actual forecast, again, touched from the National Weather Service by a human. They're bringing that 2 inch line almost up to, north of Fredericksburg, up to Ashland. Richmond, the official forecast, 3 inches of snow. So good, 2 to 4 inch looking likely. The further south you go, I think you're going to mix over to a little bit of freezing rain. That's going to eat into your totals. And down on the peninsula, those numbers are going to go down pretty significantly, though. Pretty interesting to see this much snow showing up. While we're sitting here, I do want to go over to the NAM model, and I want to push it out to this region too, because It also is significantly heavier on the 18Z run, which does not use as much data compared to the midday run. So is there a trend here? Interesting to see this, and it's also interesting to see that today we've seen these winter weather advisories get pushed to the north. And I think that's why, right? So we're definitely seeing the heavier bands show up on the NAM model this evening. So the European also kind of heavy with the snow. I don't like to use the big global models at this point in time when you're just literally 12 hours or less out. I do like the NAM. And I think we may want to go a little bit heavier up here. Let's see. All right, maybe I'm wrong. All right, across the west, big snow. These are touch numbers too, into the Colorado Rockies, into the Wasatch, north up into Idaho, Montana. Heavy snow is going to be falling out here. Some of these areas could see more than 2 feet of snow over the next couple of days. So this is just the beginning too out here, as there's going to be more snow on the way, and that's going to really set the stage for some cold air too that I think is going to start to build across the west. Here's your snow totals. There goes that one streak of snow, but look at this. Look at the snow across the Pacific Northwest into the mountains. My gracious, we are glaciating Alberta, Saskatchewan, and get into the mountains here. I think it's just absolutely nuts, the snow amounts that the European is puking out here across the Pacific Northwest, especially here off the coast of British Columbia. Well, I should say into the mountains of British Columbia with, look at that, close to 70 inches here, well over 3 feet, 4 or 5 feet of snow here into the Canadian Rockies. It's just unreal to see that, how much snow we're getting here. So we've turned the faucet on for sure. Let's track each of these individual disturbances through the next couple of days. We'll start off with Friday across the west. There's the snow we're seeing across the Rockies and into the Cascades, and that rain really picking up here into Oregon. So Portland, Seattle, you're going to get a lot of rain. It's going to get kind of windy too here into the Pacific Northwest. And that snow really starts to pick up into British Columbia. Also, some of that tries to spill east of the mountains here into Montana, into Alberta, into Saskatchewan too. And this is setting up our Clipper system that starts to drop to the south and east. So some snow starting to increase in coverage on Saturday morning into Saturday afternoon here across parts of South Dakota. And it just keeps, do I even need to tell you? It just keeps snowing across the western U.S. and the western Canadian Rockies. Maybe a bit of a break into Sunday, and then we're just going to pound it out again. My gracious, absolutely phenomenal. Here's the cold. Working south, look at this across Saskatchewan and Manitoba, well below zero. Some of that trying to flirt here with North Dakota heading into Saturday. We push that cold further to the south as we head into Saturday evening into Sunday, and that moves east. And then a bit of a warm up here on the east side of the mountains. We're back up into the 30s, but there's more cold air lurking. And what we're not going to get into in this video is what's happening high in the stratosphere. Another stratospheric warming event looks to be on the way. It's a reason I think December, man, I'm telling you, there may be a warm-up for some of you, but I don't think the cold's going to relax. This could be, I'm going to say this, it could be a winter to remember. Last year, not so much. This year, this was a lot different, and you're feeling it too in many areas. We'll see about getting your snow in Texas and Oklahoma and to the deep south. It's still way early for you guys. It's always tough to get snow here, but boy, we've seen the snow after snow across a lot of the Midwest and the Great Lakes in the Northeast. Here comes that Clipper system on Sunday, moving its way toward Illinois and Indiana. Maybe some mixed precip on the southern side of this, and then cold high pressure builds into the Great Lakes. Another system swinging through the Great Lakes, and then another one after that, heading into Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. More Arctic air plunging south. Highs as we get into Friday and Saturday. Cold Saturday, we're probably going to be stuck in the single digits with overnight lows across northern Minnesota and North Dakota well below zero. We could get into the negative teens across parts of Minnesota, and then highs on Sunday struggle to get above zero, I think, across southern Minnesota. This cold air is going to continue to modify somewhat, but remember, there's not a lot, but there's a snowpack on the ground here. So you've got the albedo effect. That's that reflection of sunshine, that incoming solar radiation. It's just bouncing back out into space with all that white snow, even if you do see sun. So it's keeping that cold air almost insulated, if you will. And then look, more cold. We're starting to warm up some, though, across the south. Not quite as cold, right? So here's Texas into Saturday. Into Sunday, we get pretty warm. And then that warmth spreads east along the Gulf Coast up into Tennessee, too. So we're back close to 60 into Nashville as we get into Sunday. Further to the east, we've talked about the snow that's moving through the Appalachians, through the rest of Virginia, into the Delmarva region as we head into Friday mid-morning. By the time you get into the mid-morning here, back across Western Virginia and West Virginia by the afternoon. It's pretty much a done deal, and we're clearing out. And then the rest of the state, I mean, by Friday night, this thing's gone, and we're done with the snow, and we're drying out. Saturday looking nice across a lot of the Ohio Valley. Snow showers around the Great Lakes into southern Ontario. We'll see some of that snow start to kick off to the east. And now we're starting to see this next clipper system drop in from the northwest. It's sliding right in, and let me tell you, there's just not a lot of energy with this. So I expect this starting to back down a little bit and fall apart. It's not going to hit the coast and amplify. And now your trough swinging in. Again, this is something to keep an eye on as we head into next week. Very, very active. And look what's showing up by the middle part of the next week. This is the operational run, by the way. So, not a lot of faith in what's happening here, but pay attention. Quite a pattern setting up. Here comes the cold, the Arctic air building into New England. Cold, snow-making weather here. The snow guns are roaring in the northeastern ski resorts heading into early Friday morning. Boy, that's incredibly cold. And then as we head into the upcoming weekend, a little bit warmer here into the northeast, but you can see that cold building in from the Great Lakes. Numbers on the way down. It's also going to get pretty cold here, too, into parts of Ontario. Montreal getting below zero at night. Highs barely into the single digits Fahrenheit here. And here comes that core of cold air moving across the Great Lakes. Look how Lake Michigan here, I don't know if it gets that cold on this side of the lake. It might. If the winds actually calm down, it could. But a lot of this cold air will get modified here by Lake Michigan somewhat, almost a heat sink, if you will, with that for that cold, and helps to modify the cold air. So typically it does anyway. But there's a lot of snow on the ground here too, so good radiational cooling at night gets us really cold under clear skies. All right, that's all I got on this Thursday. Hope the snow update has helped you. I've seen your comments. I am so sorry I haven't been able to address them all, but I do appreciate you guys joining me on the live stream tonight. Been rolling along pretty quick. I don't want to make this video very long. Some folks are just watching it on playback, but if you're brand new, hope you'll subscribe, come back. It's free, $99, doesn't cost you anything. If you want to help out what I'm doing, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. See you next time.